Hello and welcome to another episode of Snakes Territory. I'm Jesse Friedman alongside Jack Sommers. And Jack, the Diamondbacks led tonight against the Texas Rangers 3-0, and then they later led 5-3, and they ultimately lose 7-5. Unfortunately for them, a script that we've seen a number of times throughout the year.
And unfortunately for me, because we could have been done with this show an hour ago.
The Diamondbacks had the Rangers down to their final out, their final strike, I believe, in the top half of the ninth inning, with Jake Woodford trying to clean up a bit of a mess there. Kyle Backhus started that inning, got in trouble. Jake Woodford entered the game, but the Texas Rangers wound up getting the equalizer in the ninth, and then they tack on two more runs in the 10th, Jack, on what was a particularly brutal way to give up two runs. A comebacker with second and third, two outs in the 10th inning. You got a shot to get out of it without any damage, and there's a comebacker to Juan Burgos at almost 110 miles an hour off the bat. It leaks away. You got a first baseman trying to chase it down, and the Rangers score not one but two runs as a result of that play.
Yeah, that was rough. I mean, like you said, it was somewhat predictable. I just knew something was going to happen. The ball was hit up the middle, and it hit off Burgos. He's got a bad bruise. He's day-to-day, but there won't be any roster moves made for that. But the ball's hit 109 miles an hour. And it was just somewhat predictable. I mean, he wasn't throwing strikes, so by the time he finally came in, the ball was hit hard. But I go back to the ninth inning, and the choice to go with Bacchus instead of Beeks. And the reasoning there is it was fairly obvious that Bruce Bochy was going to go to his bench and bring in right-handed hitters. Jalen Beeks has a 213, came into the game with a 213 batting average against and a 683 OPS against right-handed pitching. Kyle Backhus came in with a 351 batting average against and a 934 OPS against. So that's a massive gulf in the splits. And I asked Torey about it. And I presented those numbers first to kind of cut him off at the pass a little bit so I didn't have to hear, well, we like the matchup. And once I asked the question that way, he just was very forthright and said, yeah, we know those numbers. We wanted to give Kyle Backhus a chance to figure out how to get outs in that type of situation. In other words, the emphasis there was on growth and progression for Kyle Backhus, not on winning the game at all costs.
And I guess you can understand that to an extent. I mean, Kyle Backhus has a chance to be a potentially significant factor in this bullpen going into next year, Jack. We certainly expect him to have some kind of a role. But, you still want to try to win games. You want to try to win as many games as you can. We're going to talk about the where the Diamondbacks stand in the wild card picture later in the show. It's not great, but, their chances are not down to zero at this point. And I think you could make a case that, sure, let's give Kyle Backhus an opportunity to try to get right-handed hitters out. But do we want to do that, in the ninth inning with a 2-run lead? And I guess in Torey's defense, two of the three hitters due up in the inning were left-handed, but as you pointed out, it was very obvious that Bruce Bochy was going to go to his bench in that spot.
Yeah, look, there's justification for it from a player development standpoint, which is fine if that's where they're at, but then that means that they've already run up the white flag. If they're not invested in winning at all costs and still trying to keep this thing alive, it's hard to ask anybody else to be.
That's fair. Scott Mack in the chat said, what's the reasoning for not letting Andrew Saalfrank finish the game? I guess, the D-backs have put Saalfrank in some tough spots already this season, Jack. I guess you don't want the norm to be putting him back out there to try to get you 6 outs.
Yeah, he's already worked a lot. If he gets hurt, then everyone's going to be screaming about getting him hurt. So,
right.
But beyond that, I think we already have the answer just simply from the explanation from the Beeks versus Bacchus point of view.
Well, there unfortunately were a number of injuries, potential injuries in this game, Jack. Max Esposito, Diamondbacks trainer, made, I think, 5 visits throughout the game. It just felt like he was out there constantly. And of course, the most notable of those injuries was Lourdes Gurriel Jr. It was not a collision in the outfield. Really, really nice play made by Blaze Alexander in left center field. But Lourdes had to kind of peel off a little bit, make sure that there wasn't a collision, and he fell awkwardly on his knee. And it sounds like the news there isn't great, Jack. We don't have a definitive diagnosis, though, as of right now.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have some idea of what they think it is, but he's got to get imaging tomorrow. Torey sounded, very unoptimistic, the opposite of optimistic, whatever that would be.
Pessimistic, I guess.
Pessimistic. Thank you. I don't know why I can't come up with the word tonight. It's late. But, he just said, let's just put it in neutral for the next 24 hours. He didn't want to speculate too much. But usually in a situation like this, tonight, once again, they sent us down to the locker room first and then back here to talk to Torey. And it usually means that they're working out a move. And I think it's fairly obvious. It was great to see Lourdes get up and be able to put weight on it. That was very encouraging. But it's almost certainly going to require a roster move.
And of course, if God forbid it was something truly significant, maybe you're looking at this affecting Lourdes next season. Obviously, he has the opt-out at the end of the year that we've been talking about. We'll see what the news is when it comes out. But of course, if Lourdes sustained a really significant injury with a long-term road to recovery, then maybe that affects his thinking with that opt-out this offseason. So we'll definitely keep everybody posted on what we hear there. I guess on the
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt.
Yeah, I think I see what you're chuckling at.
Jason Armstrong, the opposite of optimistic is bullpen. I'm sorry, folks. Just got to laugh.
That's pretty well said, Jason. That's pretty well said. Ryan Thompson and Andrew Saalfrank both threw very well tonight. There was no drama in the 7th inning or the 8th inning. And the Diamondbacks bullpen also was pretty good overall in that series against the Dodgers. Pretty impressive what they were able to do in that series. A really big part of the team being able to take 2 out of 3 there. So, credit where credit is due for sure. It's not like it's been all bad for the bullpen in recent days, but this wasn't a great one, Jack. And it's obviously, as I said from the top, it's a script that we've seen play out a lot this year. And you compare the Diamondbacks bullpen to what the Rangers got from their bullpen in this game, and there's a massive difference, right? The Rangers 4 1/3 innings, no runs allowed, 5 strikeouts, no walks. Granted, Chris Martin and Sean Armstrong are just kind of on a different level than what the Diamondbacks have to work with right now.
Yeah. Ironically, for the month of August, the D-backs 3.76 bullpen ERA for August ranked 11th in the league. And the Rangers were a run higher in August at 4.76. And it was like they ranked 23rd. For the year, they ranked much higher. But over the last month, the overall bullpen ERA has been pretty decent. But of course, there's still been a number of key, blow-ups and blown saves that have cost them games. So some of those runs are just coming at the worst opportune times.
Well, it wasn't all bad for the Diamondbacks on this Monday night. Ryan Nelson was pretty good in this game once again. There were some key moments offensively, some big moments offensively. We'll talk about some of the positives here on the other side of this break. Week 1 starts now, and every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, grab over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Well, Jack, Ryan Nelson delivered another quality start for the Diamondbacks tonight. It wasn't quite as crisp as we've seen from him at times, but nonetheless, 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. All in all, another pretty good day's work for him.
Yeah, there was a fair amount of hard contact. I didn't go back and look at the final. At one point, he was like 7 of 10 balls in play were hard hit balls. 5 of those were outs, but there was a single and the 2-run homer, of course, that got him. He was okay. He was fine. It wasn't vintage. Can we use that phrase yet with Ryan Nelson? It wasn't vintage Ryan Nelson.
I don't think you're allowed to use the word vintage with a guy who's 26 years old and barely has like 1 year under his belt as a full-time starter. But I still understand what you mean by that. I will say, Jack, as much as you're totally right, there was a decent amount of hard contact. Obviously, he was bit by the long ball in this game as well. His curveball was pretty intriguing for me tonight. He got 7 whiffs on that pitch. He's never gotten more than 3 whiffs on his curveball in any start in his career. It was also the highest usage rate that we've ever seen on his curveball. He's never used it more than 20% of the time in a game, and tonight that was at 22%. And that's kind of been the big mystery for Ryan Nelson ever since he entered the league. Is he going to find a way to throw a breaking pitch that is really effective? And I don't know. I mean, it was not all perfect, but I don't know that we've seen Ryan Nelson flash a breaking ball that was quite as effective as what we saw tonight.
Very encouraging. And, I'm glad to see you coming around on him.
I get a bad rap around here as a doubter of Ryan Nelson when, in fact, we've said plenty of very positive things about Ryan Nelson on this show here the past few months.
I tease.
Offensively, Jack, I wouldn't say there was one player necessarily who really had an outstanding game, but a lot of contributors in this one. Of course, the D-backs got back-to-back home runs right from the top with Geraldo, Perdomo, and Ketel Marte. And then Blaze Alexander came through with a big RBI triple that gave the Diamondbacks the lead that they had late. He later came home on an RBI double by Gabriel Moreno. So just a balanced attack for the D-backs offensively. Maybe you would have liked to see them do a little bit more damage, though, in those later innings.
Yeah, and the Tyler Locklear home run, I mean, those 92-mile-an-hour fastball was away. It was kind of thigh-high, but it was, on the outer part of the plate, and he just put a good swing on it. He didn't overswing and made contact and barreled it up. So that was really encouraging. And he drew a walk in his second at-bat. So, a good night for him, definitely a step in the right direction, something that we hopefully can see a lot more of, including tonight. D-backs are facing a left-hand starter 3 of the next 4 games. So before the game, just some of the behind-the-scenes chatter was like, this is his runway over these next few games. He really needs to show them something if he continue to, just strike out a lot and make weak contact with all the lefties coming through. I think that might endanger his position. So tonight was a good night for him, and he'll need a few more of those to kind of stabilize his base there.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess elsewhere with the offense, Jordan Lawler is another name we've certainly been watching. I know you got to talk to him before the game, Jack. We'll get into some of his comments a little bit later in the show, but unfortunately for him, it was more of the same today. 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts and some at bats that did not pass the eye test.
Yeah, and by the way, that attempted bunt, he did that on his own.
Okay.
So if anyone's wondering about that was not a bench call. That was the player tried that on his own.
And unfortunately, it didn't work. They wound up getting the lead man at second base. So, frankly, nothing is really going well for Jordan Lawler at the plate right now, as he continues to be hitless, at least during this 2025 season.
Made a couple of very nice plays on defense, though.
Yeah, the defense for Jordan Lawler has definitely not been a question this year. I mean, he continues to look really good out there. And speaking of defense, I know the play wound up being very negative because of what happened to Lourdes Gurriel Jr., but that diving catch in center field that Blaze Alexander made was genuinely very impressive. Obviously, this being his first game out in center field as well.
Yeah, my initial instinct was I thought that he got a late jump, and actually somebody showed me, the broadcast view behind home plate view of that play. And the minute the bat was swung, he was breaking in the right direction and moving. And Blaze is very fast, so he closed as fast as he possibly could. I mean, it was a tremendous play. Very unfortunate the way things went down. I saw, some people wanting to blame Blaze for Lourdes getting hurt, but that's not really the case. The ball just split the gap. It was right there in that spot. He did call it, but a little late. But I mean, you're running full tilt and diving. He did call ball. Lourdes did peel off, and it was just bad luck the way Lourdes' plant foot hit. So if anyone out there is inclined to blame Blaze on that play for injuring Lourdes, that's not really a fair assessment of the play. And the manager said as much, and Blaze didn't. He feels terrible. I mean, he was very emotional about the whole thing. You could see it on the broadcast, and if you go to our Diamondbacks on SI Twitter account, you'll also see a video of the discussion with him afterwards, and you can see how pained he was over it. But at the same time, he felt pretty strongly that he didn't do anything wrong there to cause Lourdes to get hurt.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Just one of those unfortunate plays that happens from time to time where there's not necessarily anything you could have done, but a really unfortunate injury still happened nonetheless. Cogs in the chat asked, was Jordan Lawler's decision to bunt, was that why he was pulled?
No.
I assume not. Yeah.
No, that was just a defensive alignment decision. So Torey was trying to beef up his outfield. So we put Alek Thomas in center, and you move Barossa over to left, and then move Blaze into third base. I mean, that's Barossa and Thomas and Corbin Carroll in right field. That's your best possible defensive alignment that this organization can put forth. I mean, they're all fast. They're all good outfielders. Ironically, Thomas didn't actually, field that triple at the 413 mark very cleanly, and didn't, let that ball kind of scoot past him and by, on the carom. And that really probably shouldn't have been a triple, should have been a double. And, Adolis Garcia, he should have been stopped at third base. He had pulled up lame at first base in the first place, and he was barely able to run. And the only reason he was able to score is because that ball got away from Alek. So that should have been second and third.
Well, where do the Diamondbacks stand in the playoff race? It's not great, but we're gonna take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at what the Diamondbacks would need to do the rest of the way relative to the New York Mets to actually beat the odds and somehow find their way into the postseason. We'll also talk about Jordan Lawler, some other guys who were interviewed before this game and what they all had to say. So don't go away. We'll be back right after this break.
We're throwing a curveball at you this week for our Arena Club segment, as AJ has opened up a Pokemon slap pack.
Is that how you say it?
Pokemon slap pack. Pokemon. Don't ask me to say what that card is, but what are you doing with that card?
I already sold it. Are you kidding me?
Back, baby.
I bought it, and then I got more money than I paid for the pack, so I sold it straight back.
You bought it for
$250.
You sold it for
$299.
And you can go get yourself something that you maybe know how to pronounce.
Yes, or know what it is. I just did it because I saw certain people opening Pokemon, and they were making money, and guess what? I got lucky. Made money off of it too.
Exactly. But of course, if you're into sports cards, that is something that you can find a ton of on the Arena Club marketplace. Buy, sell, slab pack trade. 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase can be had at arenaclub.com/foul and use the code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL.
Well, Jack, the Diamondbacks aren't dead yet, not officially, as they are now 68-71, 6.5 games out of the NL wild card. If we take a look at the standings, this is where things stand right now. They had a chance, Jack, to pull within 4.5 games on Sunday and really make things interesting. They were not able to complete their comeback against the Dodgers on Sunday, so they lose that game, fall to 5.5. And then, unfortunately for them, the Mets won today. And, of course, the Diamondbacks lost. So now 6.5 games out of that third wild card spot.
Yeah, and significantly, the Reds, they're 2 games over 500, and the Giants have climbed back to 500 and back in front of the Diamondbacks. So, they're chasing the Mets, but it's significant that there's now, once again, 2 teams with, more than a game ahead of them. Between them and the Mets as well. So that complicates things a great deal.
And if we look at this other graphic that you made, which basically shows what the Diamondbacks would need to do the rest of the way in comparison with the Mets, it's helpful, Jack, just kind of putting in perspective exactly what would need to happen if the New York Mets were to go, say, 12-12. I'll just pick one row out of this chart in the middle. If the Mets go 12-12, then the Diamondbacks would have to go 19-4 in order to finish higher than the Mets in the standings. That doesn't seem very realistic to me, Jack. So I guess moving down the table a few rows, I guess if the Mets were to go 10-14, then the Diamondbacks go 17-6. That would be enough to get them in. But no matter what way you slice it, the odds are not exactly in their favor right now.
Yeah, well, it would be enough to get them past the Mets, but as I just said, with the Reds and Giants playing a little bit better, because if the D-backs won 17 and get to 85 wins, who's to say the Giants or Reds wouldn't get to 86? And if the Reds get to 85, they beat the Diamondbacks because they hold the head-to-head season tiebreaker. So this is a flickering candle that just really should be snuffed out.
Yeah. They really, if they had completed the sweep over the Dodgers and then, found a way to pull out this game, which of course was very, very winnable. They were 1 strike away, right, from doing that. You can talk yourself into a world, Jack, where the D-backs are only 4.5 games out of this thing right now, which would, of course, make this whole situation a lot more interesting. But the standings are what they are. There's all sorts of what-if games from the entire season that we could play if we really wanted to.
Absolutely. I can't help but think of that Rocky series.
Yeah,
losing 3 or 4 to the Rockies, not only just the devastating impact of, directly on the standings, but also the second tier of tiebreakers because that really hurt their divisional record as well. So, for example, coming into today, I think the Mets were 23-19 in their division, and D-backs were 22-18. So at that point, the D-backs had a very slight advantage on percentage points, but the schedule favors the Mets in that regard as well. They have the Nationals and the Marlins again, as well as the Phillies inside their division, while the D-backs still have the Dodgers and the Padres and the Giants. Losing those 2 games that they blew in Colorado are really, to me, that was really the death knell on any hope.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I know you had an opportunity before today's game, Jack, to talk to a few members of this team, one of them being Jordan Lawler, who, as I referenced earlier, is still looking for that first hit of the season. It's been a really, really rough go for him offensively. Jack, I imagine for Jordan, this is just a matter of appreciating the opportunity that he's getting. He's getting a lot of reps, at least a decent amount of playing time here right now. And I imagine that he has kind of a growth mindset about this whole situation and hoping for better days ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's, a very articulate young man, and he's very intelligent, and he knows the situation, he knows the score, but he's maintaining his confidence, and not in a cocky way at all, but it's just the way he presents himself. I mean, if he's not feeling confident, boy, it's really tough to tell. But at the same time, he's just really grateful for the opportunity to get in there and get the opportunity to do what he's doing. He said, today I'm confident. I love being in there, playing as much as I can. I think the more opportunity I get, the more I continue to improve, and the quality will continue to improve as well. I think it's just getting in there and getting these reps. The more experience you have, if you're willing to learn from it, you're going to be better off. So, at this point in time, it's very hard to defend anything about his track record or play at the plate, obviously. But the team is going to let it play out. They're going to let him play as much as they possibly can, and we'll have to just see if he fights his way out of it. Sooner or later, he's going to get a couple of hits, and then will that then turn into something that he can build off of, or will he just fall back into the same issues of swinging at breaking pitches and not being able to do anything with them? We'll see.
We mentioned earlier that Ryan Thompson is now a part of this team. He was activated off the injured list and has officially rejoined this Diamondbacks roster. He was one of the 2 September 1st call-ups, as we kind of predicted the other day that it would be Ryan Thompson and Jorge Barosa. That's exactly the move that the Diamondbacks made today. But it was good to see Ryan Thompson back out there, Jack. It was a quick and pretty easy 1-2-3 inning for him. Of course, this bullpen is missing so many weapons at this point, and even though Ryan Thompson is not necessarily an elite reliever in this league, the experience that he has pitching in the back ends of games is definitely going to be welcome the rest of the way.
Sure. Speaking of relievers, we also got to speak with Torey about Mr. Andrew Hoffman. And because it didn't come to our attention, it's like, hey, wait a minute, he's not pitching in the minor leagues. He was optioned on the 20th, and he hadn't pitched in a game yet. And so we asked Torey about that today, and they actually shut him down. He had complained about some fatigue, and he requested a couple of extra days. The team thought initially that they would give him 4 or 5 days, but then the more they spoke to him and dug into his medical and physical situation, they determined that they wanted to shut him down for a little bit longer than that. He had thrown 77 innings in 2024, and then he went and played winter ball and got into another 9 games, 11 innings in winter ball, and then had a pretty full slate of games between majors and minors in 2 different organizations this year, putting in another 50-plus innings. And so he really never had a break, and they felt like he needed it. So the odd thing was, Torey mentioned that he was actually at Salt River Fields doing his throwing, which was odd because he was not put on the development list and he was not put on the injured list. So it was odd for him to be on the active Reno roster, but throwing side sessions at Salt River. So, I double checked with Chris Slivka from, the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's the director of player development, and he reassured me that he's not hurt. He just threw a few sides here in Arizona as part of his what he called deload prior to returning to in-game competition, and that's going to be this week. So Andrew Hoffman will get back up on a mound this week, but that's the end of the mystery of Andrew Hoffman and where he'd been for 2 weeks.
I really don't envy the job of a AAA manager, Jack. Like, you're constantly, you're kind of on the wrong side of every roster move in a sense where, the team is constantly optioning the guy who just pitched like 57 pitches in 1 game or something. And they're like, yeah, here you go. Here, have this guy back. I guess they have, they certainly have systems in place in order to be able to weather the storm. But yeah, like if I'm the Reno manager, I don't know if I'm, elated that one of my active pitchers is not even in the same state as my team. I guess this is a routine business for them though.
Yeah, I mean, that's just goes with the territory. It's all about player development for them and helping get the only role that they have is helping get these guys ready to be in the major leagues.
Yeah.
That's it. Speaking of Reno, there was a question in the chat. I think there were several people discussing it. If Lourdes does go on the injured list, who might get called up? There's several outfielders there that all require a 40-man roster move. Christian Robinson, AJ Vukovic, even Alberto Jr. if they want to go with a veteran, Christian Pache, and then Tommy Troy.
Almora is on the injured list.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, I
so
misread that.
Yeah.
And then Tommy Troy, who's of course listed as an infielder, but he's been taking outfield reps. I mean, any one of these players are a possibility that they might turn to, but each of them would require a 40-man roster move. It's just not predictable. I think people want us to kind of come up with a name like who's most likely to. The D-backs are too unpredictable when it comes to this kind of stuff. They'll always surprise you.
Yeah, I definitely would not speak with any kind of confidence on this. I will say that AJ Vukovic has about 100 games in Reno under his belt, and he's had a pretty decent season there. He has an 867 OPS, certainly respectable numbers. I don't know if the player they call up for Lourdes would necessarily be getting a ton of playing time. I mean, the D-backs, it's not like they are really short in the outfield department. They just got an extra outfielder today in Jorge Barosa. So with the extra, roster spot that they already have, I think their outfield depth would still be fine even without Lourdes. But it might be fun to see, an AJ Vukovic or maybe it's one of these other guys get a little bit of run in the majors just to finish out the year.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything in there, I mean, obviously, if you have a top-rated prospect that's tearing it up and banging on the door, that's one thing. And some might feel that Tommy Troy is in that category because he's hit pretty well for Reno. But your emphasis on Vukovic is likely on target simply because of seniority.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. I don't think any of these guys, numbers wise, are like, oh my gosh, this player is knocking on the door. This move has to happen. So in that instance, I kind of just go back to seniority, like who's been there for a while. That's generally the direction we would see them go. But I could be totally wrong, and maybe somehow Lourdes winds up being totally fine, and we're not talking about a roster move tomorrow, and maybe it's just something where he needs a couple days, and then somehow he's good to go. Not exactly my baseline expectation, Jack, but I guess anything is possible. Shout out Elizabeth in the chat, long time friend. Good to see you here, Elizabeth. Cogs as well. Some familiar faces from the PHNX days. So always fun to have you guys on board. If you haven't already hit the like button, we would really appreciate it if you would do that. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm, and that's how people find the show. So we really, really appreciate your support on that front. Also, shout out to Mike Long in the chat, who left us a very, very nice comment earlier. We really, really appreciate your support of the show, Mike. Well, that is everything that we have for this Monday night Labor Day edition of Snakes Territory. We really appreciate all of you being here with us. If you haven't already, once again, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. If you're joining us after the fact, you can drop a comment. We would love to hear from you. Over on Twitter, you can find us. I am at Jesse N. Friedman. Jack is at ShoeWizard59. And our show is at Snakes Territory. Jack does a great job covering the Diamondbacks over at si.com/MLB/Diamondback. So be sure to find his work over there. And this hat that I'm wearing is not yet available at snakesterritoryshop.com, but it hopefully will be soon. And as of right now, you can still get a whole lot of other fun merch. So be sure to do that over at snakesterritoryshop.com if you haven't been over there already. Jack, any final thoughts from Chase Field as we say goodbye on this Monday night?
Just get home safe, everybody. If you're not home, if you're out and about, that's what I'm going to try to do, and signing off.
All righty. Well, thanks again to all of you for being with us. We really appreciate it, and we'll be back with another episode of Snakes Territory very, very soon.